In solo leveling, after Jinwoo is called back to the double dungeon gate, he prepares to leave and tells his mother that he will return soon. However, she senses that he is hiding something but chooses not to ask any questions. When he arrives at the gate, a security officer stops him, assuming he is just an ordinary civilian, but the moment she sees his face, she freezes and instantly recognizes him. Jinwoo quickly asks if there are any hunters inside, and she tells him that a team entered nearly 2 hours ago. Jinwoo's expression turns serious. He immediately says the mission must be stopped because if those hunters do not leave right now, they will all die. He insists that he will go in and bring them back himself. As he approaches the double dungeon entrance, he finds a group of hunters trying to open the gate without success. He warns them that the dungeon is a trap. Jinwoo then reveals that he is the only survivor of the original double dungeon incident, and one of the hunters finally recognizes him as Sung Jinwoo. He notices a small keyhole in the giant door and realizes he already has the key. The moment he inserts it, the gate opens effortlessly, leaving everyone in shock. Even then, the hunters try to enter, claiming they have every right to go inside. Jinwoo does not stop them and allows them to try. But suddenly, the system announces that only the keyholder may enter. In an instant, a stone statue attacks one of the hunters, and Jinwoo saves him at the last second. He then gives them one final warning. Every creature inside this place is a giant monster, or something even stronger. Do you still want to go in? Without waiting for an answer, Jinwoo steps into the dungeon alone, and the gate closes behind him. The nightmare begins once again. Candles ignite across the chamber. The stone statues slowly come to life, and the largest statue sits upon its throne like a king. Suddenly senses a strange magical aura coming from only one statue, the one holding the stone tablet. He tries speaking to it but gets no response, so he tells the statue that its little game has already been exposed. Suddenly, the statue reveals a horrifying smile, and its eyes begin glowing bright red. At the same time, 6 enormous wings appear behind its back. Then, without warning, the stone tablet cracks and shatters right in front of Jinwoo. Jinwoo is shocked because he believed the rules written on the tablet were important. He asks the statue if it was the one that summoned him here, and it confirms his suspicion. Then he asks if it is a monster, but the answer is far stranger than he expected. Do not ask who I am. Ask yourself who you are. The statue then declares that this will be his final test, and that if he wants to uncover the truth, he must destroy every statue in the chamber. Jinwoo immediately tries to summon his shadow army, but the statue instantly suppresses his powers, leaving him with only his physical strength. In this dungeon, there are only 2 possible outcomes: survival or death. One of the statues attacks with a massive sword, but Jinwoo blocks the strike and shatters the blade. He then hurls the broken piece straight at the statue's head and lands a direct hit, but the statue casually removes it as if it were nothing. In the next moment, Jinwoo bursts forward at incredible speed and crushes its head with a devastating kick. Another statue charges at him with a sword, but Jinwoo slices through the weapon effortlessly and defeats it as well. The leader watches everything with a smile, almost as if it is pleased to see how much Jinwoo has grown. Jinwoo destroys statue after statue at a terrifying pace, but then the leader says that it is still too early for this battle to end. Suddenly, the entire chamber begins to shake, and the gigantic statue finally rises from its throne. Its size is overwhelming, so enormous that even the leader appears tiny before it. The giant statue stares at Jinwoo with a smile filled with arrogance. Unlike the other statues, its presence was absolutely terrifying. The leader turned to Jinwoo and declared, "Kneel before the ruler." At that moment, Jinwoo was still battling the stone statues. No matter how many he destroyed, more kept appearing endlessly, but his instincts screamed that the real threat was standing right behind him. He looked up and saw the giant's eyes glowing with a deep crimson light. He instantly realized a deadly attack was coming. A scorching beam suddenly burst from its eyes. Jinwoo quickly used the surrounding statues as shields. The beam completely vaporized them, even though they were made of solid stone. Jinwoo barely survived. Without wasting a second, he charged straight at the giant with incredible speed. The ruler tried to crush him beneath its massive foot, shattering the ground on impact, but in the blink of an eye, Jinwoo appeared right in front of it. The giant prepared another attack, but Jinwoo suddenly changed directions using his agility and reached its weak spot. He unleashed a barrage of powerful strikes against its face, but they barely did any damage. Even so, he refused to stop. He focused every attack on the cracks covering the giant's head, and with each blow, the ruler grew weaker. Even the leader statue was shocked by Jinwoo's rapid growth. Then, gathering every ounce of his strength, Jinwoo launched one final attack. The giant's head shattered instantly, and its enormous body crashed to the ground. A moment later, later, the remaining statues rushed toward him, but Jinwoo destroyed them with ease. The leader slowly clapped and said, "Impressive," but Jinwoo glared at him and replied, "Don't forget your promise." The leader laughed. "I'm still standing. The test isn't over yet." Suddenly, a system notification appeared before Jinwoo's eyes. "Defeat the enemy within 10 minutes, or your heart will stop." As the countdown began, Jinwoo asked one final question. "Who are you?" The architect finally revealed the truth. "I am the creator of the system." At the same time, outside the gate, Director Jin Chul arrived with a team of hunters. The moment he approached the entrance, he felt an overwhelming dark aura that made him freeze in place. Death itself seemed to be waiting inside. He immediately called for the Hunters Guild. Back inside the dungeon, the final battle had already begun. The architect transformed his wings into 8 additional arms, and in an instant, appeared right in front of Jinwoo, launching a devastating strike. Jinwoo barely managed to block one arm, but the others slammed him into the wall with tremendous force, leaving him bleeding. The architect didn't give him even a second to recover. He instantly followed up with another crushing blow, but Jinwoo dodged at the last moment, only to realize it was a trap. With all 8 arms, the architect unleashed a relentless barrage of punches at terrifying speed. But then something unbelievable happened. Jinwoo began matching his speed and even blocked attacks from all 8 arms simultaneously. Even the architect was stunned. However, the architect eventually landed a powerful punch directly on Jinwoo's jaw and smirked. But the response came immediately. Jinwoo charged forward and drove his fist straight into the architect's face, sending him flying backward and shattering half of his face. The damage made him even more excited to fight. On the other hand, Jinwoo was heavily injured, and blood had begun running into his eyes. But at that moment, he realized something terrifying. Time was no longer on his side. Jinwoo attempted a long-range attack, but the architect used the same skill. Their attacks collided in mid-air, creating a massive explosion, yet neither side gained the advantage. As the battle continued, Jinwoo wondered how he could possibly defeat this monster. Then the architect laughed. Everything happening right now had been planned from the very beginning, but the real shock came with his next words. "I am the one who created you, but I was never the one who chose you." After revealing the truth, the architect decided to switch to weapons. Jinwoo gambled everything and charged straight at him. The architect moved first. Jinwoo barely dodged the strike, but the architect gave him no time to breathe and unleashed a relentless storm of attacks. Yet something unbelievable happened. Even with blood covering his eyes, Jinwoo began dodging every strike with terrifying precision. Every cell in his body and every instinct reacted to danger before it even happened. Even the architect was stunned. He could no longer land a single hit, and Jinwoo was becoming faster and faster. Then, in one swift movement, Jinwoo sliced off one of the architect's arms. That's when true panic began. The architect couldn't understand what was happening. The system had never been designed for its player to surpass its creator. Unable to accept this humiliation, he let out a terrifying scream. The scream acted as a command, summoning all the fallen statues back into the battle. Only 3 minutes and 30 seconds remained, and the worst part, even the giant ruler that had fallen before slowly began to rise once again. But Jinwoo unleashed a powerful long-range attack that blasted the statues away as if they had exploded all at once. He no longer wanted to waste any time on them and immediately charged straight toward the architect. At that moment, the giant statue tried to crush him with its enormous fist, but Jinwoo dodged at the very last second and reached Architect. The architect fought back with everything he had, but Jinwoo began breaking through his defenses one after another and suddenly severed another arm, leaving the architect with only 6 arms remaining. In response, the architect launched a deadly slash. If Jinwoo hadn't jumped back at the last moment, he would have been cut in half. But then, a powerful strike pierced Jinwoo's shoulder. When he turned around, he saw one of the giant statues and instantly remembered what had happened the first time. This was the same statue that had cut off his leg before. Without hesitation, Jinwoo shot through the air toward it and shattered its head in a single blow, as if he was finally taking his revenge. He turned and rushed back toward the architect. The architect could do nothing but scream as Jinwoo destroyed his remaining arms one after another. Then, Jinwoo unleashed his final attack, and a massive shockwave swept across the entire area. Finally, he placed his dagger against the architect's neck. The architect had been defeated, but the test was not over. Pointing at Jinwoo, the architect told him that the answers he was searching for were already inside him. Suddenly, a message appeared. Data recovery completed successfully. Jinwoo now had one final choice: accept or reject. He hesitated for a moment, unsure if it was another trap, but in the end, he accepted. A brilliant light surrounded Jinwoo, and he felt himself being pulled somewhere far away. The light slowly faded into darkness, and he found himself in a strange place, almost as if he had traveled to another era. Jinwoo appeared as a white spirit, and beneath him stood a terrifying army of monsters. Suddenly, all of them raised their heads and looked toward the sky. Confused, Jinwoo looked up and saw enormous black gates opening above them. He immediately realized the horrifying truth. If all of these monsters escaped, humanity would fall. But then, the sky suddenly split open. Countless angel-like soldiers descended from above, and the sound of a silver horn echoed across the battlefield, announcing the beginning of the war. For the first time ever, monsters united against a greater enemy, but even then, they were being completely slaughtered. Everything suddenly became silent. Then, a terrifying aura appeared. A shadow rider emerged, carrying a power that felt strangely familiar to Jinwoo. Then, with a single word, he said, "Arise." At that moment, all the fallen monsters stood up once again. It was the Shadow Monarch, the king of the immortal army, and the final war had finally begun.